If you're here, you're probably like me, and you're probably a fan of Schitt's Creek. And that, therein lies the problem. This is Good Grief. This is written, directed, and starring Daniel Levy, who is also the creator of Schitt's Creek. And it's available on Netflix, and it does have audio description. It has audio description from a studio I'm not really familiar with, Post House, and then it had like a bunch of letters. I literally rewound a couple times. I was like, I don't know, LVSC guy XVCKM something. I don't know. It's Post House something. We're just gonna call them Post House. So, and of course, it had a first time writer and a first time narrator for me. I wasn't familiar with either of these people. Um, which is weird because earlier this was released on the same weekend that Society of the Snow hit Netflix, which also featured, um, fresh audio description. But this is, I don't know. This we need to this I have thoughts. However, I don't know when you're gonna watch these thoughts because I also don't care about this movie. This is the first film of 2024. This is what started off my 2024. I broke down. I against my better judgment. Like a lot of people are out there right now watching. I don't know that. What is that? Underwater movie? don't even care to know what it is. Something about swimming. I don't know. This was my first of 2024. I don't count Society of the Snow because it's technically in consideration for the 2023 Oscars. So this kicked off my year. We're gonna have a great 2024. um, wow. Of course I love Daniel Levy, and that's why I'm here. I was totally down for it. He was even excellent in Kristen Stewart's little Christmas movie that she did for Hulu that I don't think anybody has ever seen, but if you have, you found an amazing little gem on Hulu that is perfect. But he's a good actor. He popped up, I think, in the final season of Sex Education. Um, I like him. I like him a lot. And when I found out he wrote, directed, and starred in this, I was like, yes, I'm down. Absolutely, let's do this. It's basically a Hallmark movie. He basically wrote and directed a Hallmark movie. This doesn't have anything, doesn't feel like Daniel Levy. It feels like somebody's trying to tell Daniel Levy to not be Daniel Levy. It doesn't do for him what he thinks it does. It doesn't show off his range the way that he hoped it would. Um, I don't know what else to say. It might be a well-written movie that's just poorly directed, or it's a well-directed movie that's poorly written. I really can't tell. He might be good at one of those things, but he wasn't good at doing the trifecta of writing, directing, and starring in this. This film didn't work. Um, I think fundamentally there were some problems with the screenplay. The film starts off fine. We are introduced to him, and he's married. He has a husband named Oliver, and they're at this party, and other people are around, and it's Christmas. And let me tell you, when I'm in like early January and I'm getting a 2024 release, that's not coming out of like theaters. Like it's not something that was being bled over into from having been previously like the Hangover, not the Hangover, the Holdovers. I immediately get concerned. I'm like, why did we start with a Christmas movie in January? So it did definitely. I was like, I don't know about this. This has me worried. Why wouldn't you have opened this 2 weeks ago? Um, they had a Christmas party and some things go horribly awry, and Oliver dies. And that's not really a spoiler. The film is called Good Grief, and the film is about Daniel Levy exploring the loss of his character, not him personally. Maybe him personally. I don't actually know his life that well, but exploring the loss of his husband. And um, the things that come to light, and for some reason he decided to saddle himself with basically if you were playing like a video game, but it was like a rom-com video game and you had to like cycle through stereotypical best friends. That's what you would get here. They're not really well developed, and they're both obnoxious, and I didn't like either of them. uh, there's one which is sort of like the loud, drunk, horny bitch that loves her gays. That appears in so many movies. I just, it's just broke up. She always just breaks up, of course. Every single time, she's always just broken up with somebody. I'm sure this woman has probably broken up with everyone on the planet within the universe of this film. She's like, I found the last guy who was straight, and we broke up. I need a drink and a cigarette and my gaze. And so I couldn't deal with her at all. I just like on so many levels. Anytime she tried to give like advice or be serious or contribute to the storyline, I was just like, you're not a real character. Like you're a caricature, but you're not actually a character that anybody cares about. And then on the other hand, we've got the once we dated once and we slept together and now we're best friends, and maybe there's sexual tension here, maybe there's not, but we're gonna put that in the film so that you spend the whole film wondering, is this film gonna be about us getting back together or not? But yeah, because they have like those awkward scenes too where it's like they go to an apartment. They travel to France, and there's like a scene where like the two of them, like this guy and Daniel Levy, are standing there, and he's like, "Well, she claimed the other room because she's a single lady in France, and she needs her privacy." Basically, she's gonna fuck everyone in Paris because it's the first time in Paris. She's got a whole load of single men ahead of her, so she needs the room. So these two who dated like, I think they said 16 years ago, are looking at sharing a room, and it's just like, of course you are, because duh, that's why you're here, former ex-boyfriend who's now best friend. So that this isn't awkward at all. If this was like, this could have alternatively been like a brother, this could have been really anybody. These characters are so interchangeable that they feel like they could have been pulled out of a box of things we see in in comedies. And then Daniel Levy's storyline is just, just P.S. I love you, eat, pray, loving his way to finding himself in Paris, which is apparently the only city in France we always go to. I'm not begrudging this movie, but seriously, everyone goes to Paris. Is there another town in Paris that we can go to? But but Oliver had an apartment in Paris conveniently because, of course, again, he had an in Paris. There are other cities in Europe. We either go to like Italy or Paris or London. Like nobody ever goes to, what's happening in Belgium. I want to see some people go to Brussels. Like what's happening over there? Why don't people go to Stockholm? In films, are these towns not pretty? It just, I don't know. I Reykjavik. Like, can we go somewhere, please? Anyway, so this is just, when you're already kind of generic, you gotta do something to stand out. You can't just be another film where someone else goes to Europe to find themselves, and when they go to Europe, they go to the same place everyone goes to, and in the narration, they're pointing out like all of the things that the tourists would go to, like was the Champs-Élysées or whatever. Good God, and he can see the Eiffel Tower from his apartment. This film is really bad. I'm sorry. Like on multiple levels, I'm just so disappointed that Daniel Levy wrote this film more than directed. It's not really well directed, but definitely the writing part here is not great. I never connected to his character. The score here is boring. There's nothing. This film is lifeless. It's as lifeless as the car accident that happens to Oliver. I didn't care at all for anybody in this film, and I love Daniel Levy. But this happens every once in a while where there's an actor or an actress that I love and they do a shitty film, and they just do a shitty film, and that's life, and we move on. I mean, I can count all of the shitty films from all of the actors that I like, and everyone has one. They all have them. So I'm not going to stop liking Daniel Levy, but I'm also not going to tell him this film's great. If he was here right now, I wouldn't be like, dude, your film's amazing. Thanks for coming and stopping by so we could talk about Good Grief. I'd be like, your film is awful, man. What happened? Like, is there a lot of interference? Did it get cut? Like, what is happening here? Did you actually like sit down with Final Cut and actually go, this is what I want to send out into the world? It literally felt like I was watching a Hallmark movie. It just had no life to it. It felt like it was very cookie cutter and just anything. Narration wise, this studio is going to make some choices. Here's the thing. I keep seeing new uh, audio description houses popping up, and the reality is that there's nothing that like licenses these companies. Anybody with like with electricity can just kind of start up an audio description company and just try to outbid people for the gig. It sounds good. Like the quality is good and it's mixed fine. I didn't have a problem with that. Some of the word choices are odd and kind of off-putting. Um, that's not usually the way I would describe making out, but they explored their mouths sexually. I was like, who wrote that? Like, I I don't even think that scene led to an actual sex scene. I think they just made out. Like they kissed and then it went into like deeper kissing, and there are ways of it just was very weird because that I don't think of that when I make out with somebody. I don't think of that as I'm exploring your mouth sexually. Just it was a very odd way of describing. There's also um a scene fairly early on where after Oliver's died and Daniel's alone in bed, they refer to it as, I think it's the marital bed. And I was just like, what? We have bed sizes. Like, this is, I don't know, in bed? I don't know I king size, queen size, full size, double, twin, California king, uh, futon, you know, like marital bed is the weirdest way you could have possibly described that bed. I'm not even sure it was marital. It was something happened matrimonial. It was matrimonial. It was even worse. It was like the matrimonial bed, and I was like, what does that mean? Did did he lose his virginity on this bed on his wedding night? Like, what is this bed? It is such a weird choice. And that's what this company did, is they made so many weird choices. Where I was just like, what is um there were like interjections, but they were like interjections from like in like they really did try to make the most of like dead silence. Like for 2 seconds there'd be like dead silence and you'd hear like Leonard smirks. Or I can't remember what that character's name was. And I was like, I don't even know who Leonard is at this point. I just didn't care whether or not he smirks. We're like, I'm like first 3 minutes into the film. Which one's Leonard? Like, we haven't done a good enough job of establishing who's who at this point. Um, so it's a party setting. There's multiple characters here. Anyway, yeah, there were just choices. I don't think they're bad, but I think they're going to create a lot of really awkward audio description as a company. Interesting choices, but not choices I would have made. But balancing the audio quality balancing was fine for what I was listening to. I didn't have a hard time listening to the audio description. It didn't seem to trample any dialogue. So some of the stuff that I look out for, but man, some of the choices were just and it happened a couple times. I can't remember all of them, but there were a couple of them that actually the narration made me giggle more than the film. Like, I was like, what does that mean? Um it's clearly a human, but it feels like almost it was written by AI, if that makes any sense. But there's an actual human narrator credited for this, a human writer, I should say, credited for this. So it was written by a person, but it feels like one of those things that like somebody who doesn't really understand human emotion or how humans work would choose these ways of describing these things. Um, like when you have somebody who English is not their first language and they say something in a conversation to you and it's not how we would say it, and you're like, huh, that's an interesting way of saying that. Not how we say it, but it means the same thing, I guess. That's a choice. Um, cool. Anyway, I can't really there's really nothing here. I feel bad about scoring a film this low to kick off my year, but I really didn't like this film. Um, I uh, I want to so bad. Man, I was sitting there and I was trying to be optimistic, and I was like, I could probably maybe like a C plus or a C or maybe a C minus. Just I guess the film kept going, and God, there's a point in the film too where the two supporting characters who are already just they get mad at Daniel Levy for the dumbest shit, and then I was just like, I'm out. I can't do this film anymore. They're like, you lied to us. I was like, oh my god. I'm sorry. It wasn't even that bad of a lie. It was ridiculous. It was the dumbest fucking thing. And they make a big deal out of it. And they're like, oh my god. Oh my god. I was like, Daniel Levy, what are you doing? Why are you writing this? What is it that you have to say as a writer? Please, please write better things and put them out there for the world to see, because I think he is so talented. And he's so funny. And if he wants to write these quasi dramas, then fine. But man, don't do the whole thing. Let someone else direct it so at least they can try to filter out your ideas or give you like, some other opinions or something. I don't know. Maybe it's the combination. Something's wrong here, but I'm giving Good Grief a D. Um, the only good thing about it is Daniel Levy, and he can only take that just so far. And he's not even that great because the material he wrote for himself isn't that great. So I got nothing. Don't know when you're watching this because I don't care to put this out quick enough. I got other things I need to talk about. So if this is March, I'm sorry, this film came out in January. I have no idea. But please click subscribe, like my video. I want to keep talking about audio description in front of the largest group possible. It's important so that we can get quality audio description. I have a website, macmoovieguy.com. You can follow me on X, Threads, or Instagram at MacMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org where you can look up your favorite films and television series and see who's narrating them. That's it for me today. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.